flippity flip flap. Flipper flap. God damn it, I can't talk.
Night of the Horrified.
You're all invited.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
So, I'm really sad.
What's up?
You know, we drove around on Sunday looking for Halloween stores. Or, you know, stores that have any kind of Halloween decorations. And apparently, Tulsa, Oklahoma doesn't like Halloween.
Well, we're in the Bible Belt. They're not embracing Halloween that early, which is sad, and I'm upset
Me too.
because everyone's posting their Spirit Halloween stuff, and I'm very jelly. So,
Me too.
well, welcome to Night of the Horror File. We're two depressed Halloween fans, and if you're just joining us, we take a movie that Brittany has never seen since she's never seen any horror movies, and I torture her with it. So tonight, hang on. Today we watched God. Okay, hang on. All right, edit. Okay. Today we watched The Thing from 1982, John Carpenter's lovely movie about paranoia and seclusion. So a little story before we get started. I fucked up.
It's okay. Take a deep breath.
Okay.
Take
Anyway.
a second.
So, okay, little story. So when I was younger, we used to have sleepovers at one of my friend's house and stuff like that. And so I remember one night, me and one of my other friends decided we were going to get up and go down the hallway and sneak into his sister's room to try to scare her.
Ew.
Well, so we creak open the door and there, butt naked in the bright light of the bedroom, is my friend's sister getting plowed by her boyfriend. Now,
Fun.
my shocked face was not as shocked looking as when you told me you didn't like The Thing.
What the fuck? All of this to tell me that?
I really thought that you would enjoy this movie, but you didn't. And we'll hit on that at the end of the show, but I was very shocked. So, like we do with every episode, I'm going to give a brief history lesson here. So, everybody sit back, crack one open, and here we go. So, The Thing began development in the mid-'70s when producers David Foster and Lawrence Terman wanted to do a more faithful adaptation of the 1938 John W. Campbell novella, Who Goes There? Now, the novella had been loosely adapted before in the 1951 Howard Hawks flick, The Thing from Another World, which starred James Arness as the monster, who James Arness is from Gunsmoke. It kicked around for a while. Like Tobe Hooper and his writing partner were the first choice of Universal Pictures, but Universal wasn't happy with what Hooper turned in and envisioned. And it just kind of had a failed attempt to get this thing started. But then after several different writers and directors, including John Landis of American Werewolf in London, the project was placed on hold after all that. And we almost didn't get this movie. That is until a little Ridley Scott film called Alien came out. And interest in The Thing shot through the roof because,
Wait. Alien came out before this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Alien came out in 1979, I believe.
Oh.
I might be wrong on the years, but anyway, so yeah, once Alien dropped, God.
Yeah.
We've been living in 2019 too long. Once Alien came around, interest in The Thing surged. And eventually, after the success of his low-budget slasher, Halloween, that little movie, John Carpenter was given the helm, finally. So So without further ado, let's go ahead and dig into the thing.
Picture it. Antarctica. Winter. 1982. Nothing's happening.
Wilford Brimley.
We don't meet him yet.
Oh, goddamn.
He was not that cool.
These goddamn aliens.
Not that cool in this movie.
He hadn't gotten his mustache yet, so his source of power.
Oh. That makes sense. So, as Antarctica is, there's lots of mountains and lots of snow. That's what you see here. Nothing else to see here. No, just kidding.
Was it the snow that bored you? Is it...
They could have made snow angels or something.
Snow angels. Oh my god.
Not with those coats that they had on. Anyway, we'll get to that. We see mountains of snow and a helicopter flying through the sky and a dog running on the ground, kind of like out chasing this helicopter.
And this dog is named Jed. And
Oh.
John Carpenter had well, no, not in the film.
Okay, I was like, the dog had a
the
name.
dog actor. John Carpenter actually said like it's the best dog actor he's ever worked with, because usually the problem is with dogs in movies is they have a habit of looking at the crew and looking at the camera the whole time, and it's usually obvious. So, but this dog didn't have a problem. It's kind of cool.
Well, he was just running, so and getting shot at.
Getting shot at.
The helicopter was shooting at the dog.
Yes.
This is the first, 6 hours of this movie. So, you see a sign that says United States National Science Institute Station 4. So you know this is a base camp for the United States National Science Institute.
Yeah. You know, in the film, they don't actually go too much into what they're doing out there, but I mean, it's probably just some scientific research and stuff, because usually to be out on places like that in the Antarctic, I don't think you can just go there to drill and stuff.
Well,
it has
no.
to be an international thing.
Right. Science, bitch. Sorry.
Oh my god.
So, there's people inside. They're playing ping pong and hanging out. They're bored. Because, I mean, what else is there to do? Except for when we meet Mac, which is...
McCready. Kurt motherfucking Russell.
Okay.
And, oh, man. I love Kurt Russell. You know, for this part of R.J. McCready, it was Nick Nolte, I think Jeff Bridges, and Fred Ward and stuff were also up in line to get this part. But Nick Nolte dropped out. Jeff Bridges dropped out. Nobody wanted Fred Ward yet because he was kind of unknown. And then John Carpenter went with Kurt Russell, who he'd worked with before, obviously. So he's just a reliable actor. So that's kind of why John went with it.
It wasn't the beard?
Well, actually, it might have been, but Kurt Russell didn't have the beard when he got chosen to play this. It took him a year to grow out his beard and hair
dang.
to play the role of McCready.
Crazy. So we meet, I'm going to call him Mac, because that's what everybody calls him.
Right.
And he is drinking and playing Chess Wizard on a computer that it's like the old black and green screen computer.
Like a DOS base system.
Oh, definitely.
So he's sitting here playing this electronic chess, and there's a female voice telling her movements and stuff like that. But the voice on here is, now you won't know her because we haven't touched much of John Carpenter's work yet, but the voice is an uncredited Adrienne Barbeau, who she's in Swamp Thing. She's in a bunch of John Carpenter movies like The Fog and stuff like that. And at this point, I think she was married to John Carpenter. So
of course she had to be in the movie.
Oh, definitely.
Well, she's a cheating bitch. According to Mac.
Mhm.
And he's so mad about it that he decides to pour a drink into the computer.
Which, do you think J and B had a stock in this movie? Because this scotch bottle is everywhere.
Is it scotch? Is Jim Beam scotch?
That's not Jim Beam.
Oh.
Jim Beam is bourbon. J and B is scotch.
Oh.
They're two different things.
I thought
You know what's weird?
Was Jim Beam.
You're not the only person to get that confused. Like, I've talked to people who are like, who get J and B, Jim Beam, and Jameson all confused. And I'm not really sure why, because it's all different bottles.
I know what the Jameson bottle looks like because that was the first whiskey I ever drank
Ugh.
on one of the worst drinking nights.
Oh no, a bad drinking night?
Well, not for me. I had a good time. I got pissed off, but I had a good time. It was not my boyfriend's birthday party, and I did not throw up an hour into his birthday party.
You didn't?
No.
Are you sure?
His girlfriend did, though.
Oh my god. Wait,
It was Whitney.
your boyfriend?
No, it was not my boyfriend. It was Whitney's boyfriend. She was supposed to be the DD, and I was going to drink because we went to his birthday party at his friend's house.
Oh, okay.
She got drunk on his birthday party an
I was
hour
confused.
into the party and ended up throwing up all night and sleeping through the whole party. Anyway, back to the helicopter. The helicopter's flying, like circling around. Everyone starts to notice that the helicopter is flying around. And so they all go outside to find out what's going on. And one of the guys says, it says Norg on the side, or Norge on the side. This is when the guy throws a grenade out and he goes and he lands. And everybody's starting to freak out a little bit.
Yeah, because like, why is he trying to fucking kill this dog so bad?
Right. So the guy, whoa, words. So the guy gets out of the helicopter and he's got a gun and he's trying to shoot at the dog still while people are standing there.
Right.
And there's some people that are still inside, and one of them is the captain of this mission. I
Yeah.
guess, or
He's
whatever.
like the leader of everybody.
They called him the captain. So.
Yeah. His name's Gary.
Gary, that's right.
Yeah.
And instead of opening the door that he is standing in front of, he breaks the window with
He's
his
got to
gun.
get the drop on him. I figure this character, now purposely, we don't have a lot of like backstory on any of these characters, so you don't really, you get little glimpses of their like personalities and stuff, but you don't really get who they are. And you know, that was done on purpose by John Carpenter and the writers and stuff. But because I think there's a cut floating around somewhere that I think only got shown on TV at one point, but that gives like little bits of backstory on everybody. And I think that really would kind of fucking ruin the mood, because if you think about it, I mean.
So John Carpenter didn't want you to like any of these people?
I think he doesn't want you to trust any of them. I think that's the goal. Because if you know him and you like him, I mean, obviously we like McCready already because he's Kurt Russell, but at the time, you know, you don't have any backstory on anybody. They had come up with a backstory for McCready, though. Kurt Russell and John Carpenter had come up with a backstory about like how he was like a pilot in the Vietnam War and stuff like that, and he had this whole issues and stuff on that, but really I think it serves the film a lot better that there isn't any backstory.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying now. Picking up what you're putting down.
And Gary is played by Donald Moffat.
Moffat.
I mean, this is honestly, I know you don't know anybody except for Kurt Russell, but this is actually a very like robust cast, and I'll mention a few other people on the way in, but yeah, so yeah, we're introduced to the dog.
So the captain breaks the window. Whatever, and he's got a gun. And the guy, the Norwegian guy, I guess.
Yeah, he's Norwegian. You find that out later.
he's shooting. Just
Yeah, he starts just shooting randomly at the dog, and it hits Billings.
Billings. Okay, I was
Yeah,
like,
it hits Billings in the leg. Billings goes down, and he's still charging after the dog, trying to shoot it, when Gary ends up shooting the dude right in the eye, man.
right in the eyeball.
Right in the fucking eyeball.
And he was pretty far away. That was a good shot.
Yeah.
So the Norwegian guy is dead.
Oh, sorry. His name's Bennings, not Billings.
Oh, Bennings.
Sorry.
Correction.
Connection.
So they go to check out the helicopter, which is on fire, and they go to put it out to see if they can find anything. And they're standing there, and there's a bunch of kerosene. Is that what they called it?
Yeah, it's like big canisters of kerosene.
Kerosene. Okay, I was like, kerosene. Okay, anyway, but Max says, the first goddamn week of winter. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and this scene kind of sets up the mood of the film, because we get a little bit of action here, but it's not much.
Right.
And that's kind of how the whole movie's going to be, besides, the part with the thing, obviously. But yeah, it's a slow burn. And so is any of this connecting with you, like, as you're watching it?
No. What do you mean connecting?
Like, is any of it, like, interesting you? Like, is it interesting to you?
No.
None of it? Damn.
I mean, I kind of want to know where the Norwegian guy came from and
Right.
why he's shooting the dog.
And we do find that out later.
But, like, did we need a 20-minute synopsis of this? Like, stuff going on?
Well, I mean, you can't just start and they find a dog. What do you want?
I want them to not be flying the helicopter around for 10 days.
What?
I'm just kidding. It just seemed to drag on.
Oh, the scene?
Yes.
Oh. Well, it's setting up a mood, because you also have that score, which, by the way, this is the first movie that wasn't scored by John Carpenter himself. It's Ennio Morricone came in and did a Carpenter-like score. So, like, the music sounds in tradition with Carpenter's movies, but it's really not his score. But it's oh man, those deep bass notes and stuff are really help. It's helping set up the mood.
Right.
Is what these establishing scenes are.
Right. I mean, I was a little curious. I'll give you that. So, it cuts to the guy that got shot.
Yeah, Bennings.
Bennings. Okay, sorry. He was getting stitches. The doc's like, it's 4 stitches. It barely grazed you.
Yeah, you pussy. Which, by the way, I didn't notice this, and I've seen this movie so many damn times, but I didn't notice the doc had a nose ring?
Yes.
Like, you pointed that out.
Yes.
That's insane.
Having a nose ring, I noticed nose rings.
Right.
So, Bennings is like, what are they doing flying that low? And the doctor's like, shooting at us. Oh, no shit, Sherlock. Anyway, he blames it on cabin fever.
Yeah, it's, people get cooped up there and they go nuts.
I guess so.
And it's at this point that they decide to go up there, which to check out wherever the Norwegian came from and see what the hell happened.
Yes, the doc wants to go find out what's going on. Because obviously something's not right for the Norwegians to be flying over and shooting.
Yeah, at a dog.
A dog, right.
Which, at this point, Clark is kind of like, he's like, he kind of watches over the dogs. I mean, it doesn't really say that, but he loves these dogs, obviously.
Right.
And Clark is actually played by Richard Masur, who, I don't know if you remember the old It miniseries.
No, I never saw that one.
Oh, well, anyway, he plays Stan. Okay, he plays Stan, who ends up killing himself before it can get him. Anyway,
Oh, really?
yeah, but
Oh.
we don't want to turn this into an It episode. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. He's been in some other stuff as well, but
Right.
I just feel like that's one place our listeners will recognize him from.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, Clark, yeah, he loves these dogs. He's taken the dog off, and he hasn't locked him up yet.
Which comes to play a little bit later.
Yes. Meanwhile, Windows, we get kind of introduced to him. He's talking on the radio, trying to reach some people. And
Ain't nobody there.
ain't nobody there. And Blair walks in. And this is our first introduction to Wilford Brimley.
He's like, I'm trying to get a hold of someone. I can't get a hold of anybody. I haven't talked to anybody in like 2 weeks. And he's mad about it.
Right.
Then we see Knowles, and he is rollerblading down the hall.
Right. And the only reason, okay, so Knowles is played by T.K. Carter, who is a stand-up comedian. He's actually he went on to do like some TV shows and stuff like that, some TGIF kind of things. And I think he's in a few movies too. But the only reason they got this actor was because he was a stand-up comedian. And for some reason, the thought was, you always put a stand-up comedian in these things.
Really?
I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, so that's kind of why they got T.K. Carter.
That's weird.
So yeah, this is our introduction to Knowles. And yeah, we met Blair, who was Wilford Brimley. Who, I swear to God, Wilford Brimley has always been perpetually old. Have you ever noticed that?
No, because I haven't seen him in anything except for the
You haven't seen
commercials.
anything. Well, anyway, he just gets a little bigger and a little grayer. That's about it.
Sounds like me. Knowles rollerblades into the room where they have brought the Norwegian guy.
Yeah.
You get a good shot of his eyeball blown out.
Ugh.
Yeah. It was pretty good, though.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Honestly, the special effects in this fucking movie. God, I mean, that's half the reason why you watch this film is for the special effects. And they are top notch for the time. Like,
I would say, yeah. For 1982, yeah.
Even today, they're fucking top notch. And the fact that they're like done with practical effects, all of this is practical effects until the end, where I think the monster comes out of the ground. That's an animated little short thing.
Oh, okay.
But no, all of these are practical effects. And Rob Bottin, who was like, I think he was 21, 22 when he did this movie. The effects on this, I mean,
wow.
he worked so goddamn hard on these. He was actually like, he was made to take a break because like he was exhausted. Like,
Wow.
at post-production, he was living at the studio. So he was like suffering exhaustion because the amount of work these people put into these special effects is insane. Like, I don't think people really appreciate it very much, you know?
It was very detailed.
Oh, yeah.
A lot more detailed than Hellraiser.
Well, you know, with Hellraiser, you had Clive doing his best.
I mean, it was good. I'm not saying it wasn't good. I'm just saying it's a lot more detailed.
But Hellraiser was working with more simpler
Right.
kind of terms. This, we're working with like an alien creature that doesn't really have a form. So it's basically your imagination kind of runs wild. But yeah, Rob Bottin did all the effects in this except for the scene with the dog, which comes up later. That was actually Stan Winston, who I know you don't know him, but Stan Winston is a huge special effects artist. He's done Terminator, I believe Terminator 2. He just does a lot of special effects, and he's big. And he took over during the dog scene because, I mean, one, Bottin had exhaustion. Two, Rob Bottin did not want to do this animatronic dogs and stuff. He was sick of dogs.
Oh, really?
So he had secured Stan Winston beforehand, just in case. And luckily he did. And Stan Winston didn't take any credit for it.
Why?
He didn't want to take away from Rob Bottin's thunder.
Oh, that's
Because if you
sweet.
think about it, Stan Winston only did the dog animatronics. The dog scene is what he took over. And the whole movie is Bottin, so he didn't want a big name like Stan Winston getting dropped on there. And, it would have overshadowed the other guy. So he has a special thank you at the end of the film. But yeah, he didn't take the credit.
Wow. That's very nice of him.
Oh, I know.
Because I can't say I wouldn't take credit for what I did, but...
Right.
So, they're all in there and they're all talking and they're saying maybe we're at war with Norway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many options as to what's going on.
Yeah, because they're really lost at what the fuck is going on right now.
Right.
Because, like I said, I like that long scenes at the beginning that you had a problem with. Because you're kind of dropped in and you're like, what the fuck is this? What am I doing here? Because if you didn't have that feeling to begin with during this movie, all of it would have been lost.
Right.
Like, you wouldn't get the feeling of seclusion and isolation and like paranoia and stuff you get later on if you don't have these early scenes that make you feel somewhat isolated and kind of confused.
Right.
Like, I think that the writers and John Carpenter and stuff, they did a great job at making you feel along with these characters. You have their same emotions throughout the entire movie. I mean, I don't know if you did. Because every so often I was like, I'm sitting there on the edge of my seat, like excited because I love this movie. And I look over and you're like, is something going to happen? It's like, yes, the thing is going to. Why don't you like this?
Sorry. Everybody has their own opinion, okay?
No, it's okay. And I always say, you can dislike a movie or like a movie. You're just wrong.
Okay. So anyway, this is where we meet Palmer.
Yeah.
And he is lighting up a doobie.
I think Palmer smokes a joint through this whole movie. I don't know if it was supposed to be a cigarette or a joint, but it looked like a joint.
It did.
But then again, there are some people that hand roll their cigarettes. I'm not sure.
That's true. So, but I think it was a doobie because he's got a roach clip.
Oh.
Holding it up to his mouth. I'm like,
okay.
He's smoking some weed. Anyway, so Palmer's making fun of the captain and said, I never thought he was going to be able to use his pop gun. Or I never thought I'd see him use his pop gun, whatever. And the captain just kind of glares at him.
Yeah, because, he has a good point. Because, why does he have a 6-shooter and then they have, a weapons locker? And, flamethrowers? And, I guess the flamethrowers could have been used to thaw the ice around, maybe?
Probably.
There's a lot of equipment that seems a little unnecessary for just a scientific crew.
Maybe. But, they're talking about 8 weeks wasn't long enough for them to go bonkers.
Right.
And Knowles is like, bullshit. 5 minutes is enough to put a man over down here. And I agree. Because if I was in confinement, yeah, fuck that.
Ooh,
and there's no women there. Yeah, fuck that.
No. In fact, in the old 1951 Howard Hawks movie, there was women added to it. So the hero had somebody to sleep with.
Oh.
But no, so yeah, and on this film, in fact, John Carpenter has said, there was no women characters. And there was only one woman crew member, but she was pregnant and had to leave, because of her pregnancy. So she had to leave. So there was absolutely no women working on this.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Oh, my brain. I was like, think of all the semen.
Ew. Ew.
Sorry.
Ew. I think the grossest part is Wilford Brimley's there.
Ew. No, you made it worse.
Diabetes.
So they...
All right, another load of joy for you.
Oh my god. So they decide, ew, a load of joy. Ew.
Wilford Brimley.
Stop.
Check your blood sugar.
Stop it.
And check it often.
Stop it.
Diabetes.
Stop.
All right, go on.
So they decide that they want to go to the Norwegian camp.
Right.
So they go out, and Mac's like, I'm not flying because this weather is fucked.
Right. And
Basically.
most of the outside scenes are actually shot in British Columbia, the town of Stewart, I believe, where it gets like super cold and stuff out there. So it was shot in real snow on the outside. Now, for some scenes, they shot it on refrigerated sets where because at first they wanted to do it in these weird fridge boxes, but they were too low and squatty and stuff, and so they said no. But they were wanting to do it in that to save money. But then they did it on the refrigerated sets where all they did was drop the temperature down to like 40 degrees. So for some of the, I believe it's the nighttime outside scenes, I can't remember. But so you got some of it on a refrigerated stage and some actually in British Columbia. So.
And that makes sense as to why in this scene, Mac's only wearing a leather jacket.
Right, because it's not as cold as they're letting on. I mean,
Right?
Antarctic temperatures would be way worse. So, and I think they're all just kind of wearing parkas, which
Yeah.
we had that conversation. Like, do people who study stuff in the Antarctic, do they have to wear thicker clothes? Because
Yeah.
I would assume so. But
Yeah.
anyway.
It gets like -100 or some shit like that. Yeah, that's fucked. It's not right. People shouldn't be outside. Anyway, and they're all like, oh, no, it's going to be fine. You know what you're doing, Mac. And he's like, fine. And they fly off.
Yeah.
And
there's
this is
a
where...
scene
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
This is something you're going to want to talk about.
Oh, okay.
This is where we see Mac's hat.
Oh, yes. Kurt Russell's hat in this movie. McCready's hat. I am on the lookout for this hat.
No,
Now,
do not
Brittany
buy it
doesn't
for
want me
him.
to have it.
Do not let him know where it's at. Nothing.
But if you know where I can get a hat
No,
like this,
no.
I swear, if you let me know where to get a hat, I will buy you a drink in said hat at the bar. So, hashtag get Lee the hat.
No.
Hashtag get Lee the hat.
Do you want to have sex again?
So anyway.
For every time that you wear that hat, I will not have sex with you.
Oh, shit.
For 24 hours.
Damn it. All right, moving on.
They were hit with Superstition by Stevie Wonder.
Right. And okay, so I remember this DVD that I bought that we watched this on. I bought a long time ago in high school, but I remember the first time I saw this movie was on VHS, and I had rented it from Blockbuster. This is back in the day. Kids, if you're listening, the Blockbuster was a place you could rent videos from and then return them at your leisure. Only they charged you extra. Do you remember?
Yes.
Jesus. Anyway, Blockbuster is where I rented it from. And I remember watching it, and this song wasn't in there. Like, it turns out, like, on the home video release, the first time on the VHS and stuff, apparently the Universal couldn't get the rights to the Stevie Wonder song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but later on for the DVD and Blu-ray and stuff, it obviously they got their rights back. So when I first saw this DVD, I was like, wait, what? Because I think it's just some kind of stock music in the first home video release.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense.
But yeah, Knowles is he cooking, I suppose?
I guess.
He's cooking, roller skating around, listening to music. And Bennings is kind of mad about that.
He's like, I got shot today.
Turn it down.
Turn it down. I got shot today.
I'm like, don't tell people to turn down Stevie Wonder.
And Knowles just acts like he's going to turn it down and then doesn't do it.
Right.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
This is where you see the dog.
Right.
And he is walking in the hallway, all slow. And you see a shadow of someone in a room. And it looks like he's just like sitting on a bed.
Yeah.
And the dog like sees it out of the corner of his eye and he's like, oh, I'm going to go in there.
Yeah, and then he goes
in there.
And you see the shadow kind of turn to face the dog. But this explains, and I'll explain it. But this explains a scene later on that for some reason I never noticed the shadow scene. I don't know why. Anyway,
sorry. That was all for this scene. It was just a quick little snippet of what's to come.
Right. Hey everybody, just a quick little movie review from Night of the Horror File. This movie is called Between the Darkness from 2019. 13-year-old Sprout Grady grows convinced that a monster is haunting the nearby woods. Embarking on a mission to vanquish it, she uncovers horrifying secrets that rock the core of everything she thought she knew. Between the Darkness is a really cool-ass film. It stars Danielle Harris and Lou Temple. Two actors that are amazing, and it's finally great to really see them shine. So if you're in the mood for something that's going to stick with you after you watch it, go see Between the Darkness. You can find it streaming on Amazon, iTunes, In Demand, DirecTV, Vudu, Fandango, Vimeo, On Demand, AT&T, Google Play, and Sling Dish. Between the Darkness, 2019.
So they fly the helicopter, I can't say words, to the Norway base, and there's smoke coming from somewhere.
Right.
And part of the building is kind of burned. It's not burned down, but it's burned. And they go inside, and everything's a little frozen over because... Mm-hmm. Obviously, the building's kind of burnt down. Well, it's so cold out there. Everything on the inside has frozen.
Right.
It's a little crazy. And as they're walking through, they find a dead guy.
Yeah, and it looks like the dead guy has, like, sliced his own throat open.
It kind of looked like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's fucked up looking.
And they're a little like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, they're finding videos and papers and stuff,
mm-hmm.
and they're gonna take them back to examine them because they're not gonna be they're not gonna be at the Norway camp very long because of the storm that's coming.
Right.
But as they're walking around, they find this weird frozen block.
Yeah, it's like a block that has obviously had something in it.
Yeah, because it's like hollowed out.
Right.
And they're like, what the fuck? And so they go outside and they see something is burning.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, is that a body?
Yeah, like, what the hell is that in there, is what Doc says. And it's really creepy because you can see, like, it's, like, twisted and stuff. Something's fucked up. But they end up, I guess, putting a tarp over this and loading it up in the helicopter to take it back.
Yes, because they want to see what's going on.
Right.
So they fly back and they bring in all the stuff that they found, and they are kind of doing it. What was it, like an autopsy?
Yeah.
On this man.
Right.
Oh yeah, because then my next thing is they asked for an autopsy. Anyway, so everybody's freaked out, and so Windows keeps getting ordered to go try and get a hold of someone.
Right.
And he's like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I can't get a hold of anybody.
And is this where Gary's like, keep at it?
Yes. So then, this is where they start digging into the body, and he's like, "This is normal internal organs."
Right. And so Wilford Brimley was actually the only one who didn't get squeamish during this, because some of these are real animal organs that they're using.
Oh, really?
And I mean, Wilford Brimley was like an actual cowboy at one point in his life. So like, he didn't care. Like, it didn't bother him. But
Right.
like, John Carpenter had asked him, well, how did it feel to do that and stuff? And he was like, I'm just picking up my laundry.
What?
I'm Wilford Brimley.
Oh my goodness.
Diabetes.
So everyone's kind of hanging out, and they decide that the dog needs to be put up with the other dogs.
Right.
Which I didn't know that they had other dogs.
Yeah, they have like a whole group of them and stuff in the kennel.
Yeah. So Clark takes the dog, to the kennel. And the dog goes right in there and lays down. And all the other dogs are like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Who dis? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they
And,
obviously know something's fucking up.
Yeah, because they start to kind of freak out. And this is where the new dog just turns into an alien.
Yeah, this shit's crazy.
His,
man.
like, face opens up, and there's, like, this tongue, and it's like, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's not the sound effects, but...
And yeah, this is the scene where Stan Winston was in charge of.
Oh, okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
But yeah, this fucking thing starts ripping apart and all sorts of shit.
It was like...
It's really hard,
growing-
honestly. It's really hard to explain to somebody
Yes.
these scenes like this, because
Yes.
it's like, it's fucking crazy. And, another thing Wilford Brimley had did that wasn't so cool. He had said he kind of blamed the movie's overabundance of gore on the fact that it didn't do so well in theaters.
We could have had more.
More
Gore.
gore? You wanted more?
Yeah.
I thought the subtleness of it was nice. But anyway, he said that may have been why it didn't do so well, which we'll talk about that later on, that this movie flopped. But no, like...
Wait, this movie flopped?
Yes, we will talk about it.
Oh,
Yeah, we will talk
okay.
Really loud.
Sorry.
Yes, this
Oh,
movie flopped.
that explains it.
But,
So, yeah, it is. It's hard to explain what's going on.
right.
It does kind of grow like some spider legs, which is weird. but
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain.
There's a lot of
it.
tendrils and spider legs, and it's just a thing.
Right.
I think
It's
the
a
name
thing.
of it was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, you get a lot of cool ass like special effects in this.
and there's a dog trying to chew through the fence
Yes.
because they're like it's like a kennel, but it's
Yeah,
got fencing.
But there's this
and there's
fucking
a dog trying
monster
to
in
get
here.
out.
He's like, "Fuck this shit! I need
Yep.
out!"
I thought that was hilarious.
And then it starts like squirting him with this goo
Ugh.
and shit, and like skinning him. I don't know. But yeah, Clark comes to
Yeah, because he
investigate.
can hear.
Yeah,
something's
the
going
fucking
on.
noises. He comes to investigate, and as he's walking, like a dog jumps out and hits him. Because it's like, I'm out.
I'm out and done.
I'm out, dude.
And that's where he sees the alien spider.
Yeah.
And Mac is in the kitchen and he's looking for food. And as he's looking around, he hears this commotion that's going on.
Yeah.
And he freaks out, pulls the fire alarm, and runs in there. And why is his first thought to get the flamethrower? Because he yelled at someone, "Go get me the flamethrower."
Well, because, like, I mean, if you saw something like that, wouldn't you burn it with fire?
Maybe,
I mean,
yeah.
you can't have Wilford Brimley just go punch it, you know?
Right. I don't know. I might have run away. That's my first instinct. So he being Mac, also sees the weird alien thing and shoots it
Yeah.
a bunch of times.
Oh, yeah. He even ends, like, puts one of the dogs down while he's at it because this dog's like held up against the wall with the tendrils.
Yeah,
it's, like,
that's
getting
right.
Fucked up.
And the alien dog thing starts growing more hands and heads, and
Yeah, Jesus.
and that's when Mac's like, "Oh fuck, I'm burning this shit." So he burns it with the flamethrower,
Right.
and then the other guys come in real quick with fire extinguishers because they don't want to burn the building down
Right.
because this is all happening inside.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if you damage your shelter out here, like,
Right, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it cuts to the lab, and they're cutting it open to find out what's inside of this creature.
yeah, and man, again, the makeup and effects works. Ew, this thing looks disgusting. It's like a malformed dog.
Yeah, but
person.
like inside this alien thing, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
it's
weird.
weird. Well, because Wilford Brimley is kind of so he's like kind of telling them like what the Blair is telling them like what this thing is, that this is like imitation and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That it basically was digesting the dogs.
To absorb them.
Yeah, to turn
and
into them.
shape itself to imitate the dogs.
Right. So we got ourselves here a shape-shifting alien. So,
Fun. And he was like, well, we got to it before it could do that.
right.
But I was confused because why is it trying to shapeshift into a dog when it was already a dog?
Well, I think it was trying to turn into all the dogs.
Oh.
Like take them all over.
Okay, that makes sense. I was just like...
Well, because there's a big debate on what this thing is. I mean, obviously you don't see a full thing of it. It's just some kind of like parasitic organism that
Right.
takes over bodies and stuff and just keeps replicating them and taking them over. And I mean, obviously we don't get a motive, I
Right.
assume, to survive or whatever. But there's kind of a big debate over the intro to this movie because, you know, the scene at the very, very beginning where the UFO is basically crashing into Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
that was
we
a very quick little
Yeah, we
scene.
see that little scene at the beginning. And there's kind of a debate about whether the thing was in the spaceship or what had it taken over a host in the spaceship.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's kind of a little debate on that. I honestly, in my opinion, I think whatever this is, the thing took over something, and like it crashed into Earth.
So,
Because I think, like, in my opinion, I think this thing's like out there in space and shit, just taking over organisms.
so the alien thing took over aliens
Yep.
and then crashed into Earth?
Yes.
That's just a question.
I may
Anyway.
have been smoking a little too much weed.
Uh-oh. Are you okay?
Wilford Brimley.
Oh, God. So they start drawing blood from the dogs. For what reason, I don't know. To test it?
Yeah. Oh, because, like, so Wilford Brimley's, like, in the kennel with
Clark.
Clark, and he's testing the dog's blood to see if it's actually the dog, I assume. And,
Oh, that's right.
yeah, and Wilford Brimley is asking him, you know, are you telling me, like, the dog wasn't put into the kennel until tonight, and it was
Yeah.
just wandering around the rec room and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And you can tell, I mean, he doesn't come right out and say it, but Wilford Brimley is thinking, you know, it could have taken over one of us.
Right, because it imitates.
Right.
And he's thinking it took over Clark.
Right.
Because Clark spent the most time with the dog.
Mhm.
So far, whatever. So they decide that they need to watch the videos
Right.
that they got from the Norway camp, and they can't really decipher what they're watching.
Yeah, you can see where they're like on the video, which, by the way, one of the Norwegians in this video is John Carpenter.
Oh, cool.
But they're trying to decipher what they're doing, and you can tell they're like standing in measurements and stuff. And
Yeah.
McCrady's like, it looks like, because you can see like on the video, like it looks like there's something under the ice, and that's what McCrady says.
Yeah, he's like, there's something under the ice, and I want to go find out where it is. And
Oh, yeah, because they also see them planting those thermite charges.
Oh, right. So they're looking at the maps from the Norwegian camp, and they're like, this is like 4 or 5 miles from their camp, and they spent a lot of time there.
Right.
And Mac's like, yep, we're going.
Yeah, because he wants to see what the fuck.
Yep. So they go because Mac's in charge.
And Mac has
He
his
thinks he's
hat
in
on
charge.
again.
Oh my god. He's got his hat on again.
Hashtag get Lee this hat.
No. So they fly to that part where the Norwegians were, and there's something weird in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a huge, like, they have to, what is that called? Rappel?
Yeah, they rappel down.
Down. And it looks like a spaceship.
Right.
And they're talking, and they're like, man, this has to be at least 100,000 years old. Like, because of all the snow and stuff that was on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And for it to get like that, it had to have taken like 100,000 years.
Yeah.
And they're saying that the Norwegians blew up the hole to get there or whatever.
Right. And they're talking, and they one shot is them standing in front of the spaceship, and you can see it. And obviously it's a matte painting, and what a matte painting is, I should probably explain that to people who don't know. What a matte painting is, it's where like a painting of something, like a landscape or something, is superimposed like in front of the actors.
Oh, okay.
You'll see this in a lot of old movies, but I don't know what it is about this movie. Maybe it's the Blu-ray transfer that we were watching, but like, it looks good. It still holds up, just like the other effects in this movie. That it all holds up really well. I think that's what kind of has made this movie get more and more of a cult following as it ages, which we'll talk more into in depth at the end here. But so they enter this spaceship. So anyway, so they have found a spaceship.
Right. But near the spaceship, they find the hole that the Norwegians had dug that ice out of and taken it to their spot.
Right.
They see that hole, and what they said is something must have crawled out of it and died. And someone says, I cannot believe this voodoo bullshit. And they're like, it happens all the time. The government knows all about it.
Right. And Child says, I can't believe this bullshit because they're talking aliens now.
Right.
Which is, I'm glad they kind of did that, because it would have been kind of silly if they didn't have the scene where somebody's saying something. But anyway, Childs is the one saying it. And Childs, we haven't even touched on him yet. He's played by Keith David, who is super famous. I can't think of anything you've seen him in. Damn it.
I've seen nothing.
But he's in, a lot of people will probably remember him from like one of those like Vin Diesel space movies. Anyway, that movie sucks. He's in Requiem for a Dream. He's the guy who tells Jennifer Connelly he didn't pull it out for air. And which, if you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. But recently he's been in Tales from the Hood Part 2, which I fucking love that. It's even better than the first one. But anyway, Keith David, who has an amazing voice.
Well, he does. I did like it. So they're trying to figure out how all this can work and is working and happen and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so they come up with the thing that was in the ice must have gotten thawed out and came back to life. And Max says it might be from outer space, but he doesn't know. He wants the doctor to answer.
I mean, I'm just going to go with it's from outer space.
I think so too. So they are... Oh, no. This is where Blair is sitting in his... It cuts to Blair sitting in his office, watching a computer screen in his office.
Right.
And he's watching a simulation on a computer about the imitation of the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes up with words, and I don't know if he's typing this or what, but it says probability that one or more team members may be infected is 75%. Then it says projection. If intruder organism reaches civilized areas, entire world infected 27,000 hours from first contact, which I looked that up, and it's 1,125 days.
Shit.
Yeah. So it's a long time, but damn.
So yeah, so Blair is onto it, sort of.
Yeah.
He definitely knows that this thing is fucking bad news.
So anyway, Blair, reading all of this on the computer, is kind of freaking out. And he pulls a gun out of his drawer.
Yeah,
because he's
nope.
getting paranoid. So I guess Mac and the crew are back because he's in another room and he's drinking his J&B. And Blair calls him, or someone calls him over the thing and tells him he needs to go move his stuff because they're moving away from their room for some reason.
Well, what they're doing is they're moving the alien thing into
okay,
room.
that makes sense.
Yeah, so they can hold on to it because I think they're thinking, a find like this you shouldn't let go.
Right. And this is where Fuchs wants to talk to Mac. And Mac's like, I just want to get drunk. And Fuchs said, oh, no, some other guy says, we should just burn the aliens.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, no, this is going to win someone a Nobel Prize for finding this.
Yeah.
And
that's Bennings that tells him that.
Oh, Bennings, sorry. And so they're trying to move all their stuff. I think it was Windows that walked out to go get something. One of the other guys is in there, and blood starts to drip off this table.
Yeah.
Which is a little creepy.
That's Bennings again. Still.
Sorry, Bennings. I'm sorry. I cannot remember his name.
Bennings is a problem with you. You just keep forgetting about him. Poor
He's
Bennings.
Not important to me.
Hashtag poor Bennings.
Oh my god.
Hashtag get Lee the hat.
This isn't Twitter.
Lee needs his hat.
No.
Somebody buy me that hat.
So Blair has now locked himself in his room.
Right.
And sorry.
Oh.
This is where Fuchs and Mac go to the dozer.
Right.
They go out to the dozer to talk because it's more intimate. I don't fucking know. It's very weird.
It's mood lighting. No, he takes him out there because basically he also knows that
right,
one of them could be something might be up.
But why did he have to take him to the dozer?
Well, he's taking him out there to explain what's going on with Blair.
But why does he have to take him all the way out there?
To talk to him in private.
It's the only private spot. So, yeah. And he's like, there's something wrong with Blair. He locked himself in his room, and I took his notebook.
Right.
Oh, and he's telling Mac that these things could have imitated 1 million life forms in 1 million planets. This is what the notebook says, sorry. And that it could have changed into any one of them at any time. And Mac's annoyed.
Yeah, because he's still kind of he still doesn't necessarily buy into all this shit.
Right. And Fuchs is reading from the notebook, and it says, in order to be exposed or whatever, someone needs to be alone and in close proximity to be absorbed.
Right.
Mostly these aliens strike in the dark, and the burned remains aren't dead yet.
Yeah, the burned remains that they had found.
Oh, right. They're not dead yet.
That Windows had left Bennings, I remembered Bennings. That Windows had left Bennings alone with when he walked out to get the keys, I guess, to some supply closet. But yeah, so Windows comes back in. Fuck. And Fuchs and Mac are still out in the dozer. And Windows walks back into where he left Bennings with the supposedly dead thing. And when he walks in, that thing's gone off the table. And this is where he looks over and it has Bennings. It's like wrapped around him and it's nasty.
It's nasty.
It's nasty.
And who was it that pulled the fire alarm? Was it Windows?
Yeah, I believe so.
He pulls the fire alarm, and so everybody runs in, and this alien thing.
Oh, wait.
What?
I think he just... Okay, so Windows runs out to get Mac and Fuchs, and Mac sees...
Oh, I see. I'm sorry.
Mac sees where Bennings was...
But there's nothing there now.
But he looks out the window, like Max sees out the window and sees Bennings running through the snow. And that's when, I believe Mac pulls an alarm at this point.
Yes. He pulls the alarm and everybody starts running in there and they see Bennings kind of. He's like an alien, half alien, half human.
He's like leaning on the ground and they all surround him.
And
man, when he looks up, that part scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Oh yeah,
when he looks up and he has those fucking messed up hands and shit that look like sticks, and it's just gross because he's still trying to form into Bennings. The thing is, and he looks at him and just like lets out that howl. Yeah,
and Mac has a flare in his hand, and the alien dudes seem to be very interested in the flares. But Mac just burns him.
Yeah, he like kicks over, Mac kicks over this thing of fuel.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and it pours onto the thing. And then he throws the flame. Fuck.
Oh, sorry. I was about to say flamethrower.
We both fucked up.
The flare.
The flare onto him. And there's like a story on set, apparently, like these flares, like there isn't like a straight story about it, but apparently like these flares, they used to burn themselves on them like so much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they're real road flares. In fact, there's a scene later on where Kurt Russell is holding one, and they had to like rush the scene so he wouldn't burn his hand on the flare.
Wow, that's let's practice fire safety. So Max says, grab the flamethrower. We got to burn the rest of them.
Right.
So they take all of the specimens, we call them that, outside, and they burn them. And they're like, are we sure that's all of them? Mac's like, yes. And they look around, and they're like, where's Blair? And so Max starts to look for for Blair, sorry.
Yeah, he starts looking for Blair.
And he hears a gunshot inside, and everybody goes running.
Right. And Mac comes running in there, and he says, because, there's a scene earlier after they get done burning the corpses where Mac is like kind of lagging behind, and he sees Blair hop out of the helicopter, and he's bashed it up a little bit. And so Kurt Russell comes running down the hallway. Mac, he comes running down the hallway and joins them. And, he tells them he busted up the helicopters too.
Because he's an asshole.
Because he's Wilford Brimley.
And
man, yeah, this is fucking funny because Blair is like, it's Wilford Brimley having a freak out. And if you've ever wanted to see Wilford Brimley have a freak out, this is the movie.
I guess so. Because he is all freaking out. He just shooting.
Yeah.
Just to shoot things. And he also has an axe.
Yeah, and
sometimes he puts his gun down and then he starts axing things.
Right. He's breaking up the radios, which is bad. He's busting them with the axe. And while he's doing it, he's like, they wanted to be us. It's just really funny.
Mac is pretty smart. He brings in a door or table or something, and he decides that he's going to run in. He almost gets axed. Thank God he had that piece of wood.
You're right.
And they all start fighting, and Mac punches out Blair, and he wants to lock him in the tool shed for his protection.
Right. I mean, I'd probably lock a rampaging Wilford Brimley in the tool shed as well.
That's true. That's true. And he says, I don't know who to trust. So I don't understand, because they were just outside burning these bodies, right?
Uh-huh.
Unless this freak out lasted for hours and they didn't tell us, when they went back outside to take Blair to the tool shed,
Right.
it's light outside.
Yeah. And I remember you told me that, and I guess I just never really noticed because I have enjoyed the movie. But like,
Sorry.
I went back and rewound it and stuff. Rewound. Wow, I'm old. I went back and looked at it again, and yeah, you're right. It does go from night, where they just calmed him down with a couple punches to the head, to daytime, them hauling him out to the tool shed, and I was like, well, maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe they stayed in there and then they took him out in the morning. I have no idea. But I do know, like, there's the director of photography and stuff, like the editor and stuff. He did a lot of cuts to black and stuff, and he got some shit for that, but John Carpenter always stuck by him, so I don't know if that's what that is. I have no idea. It's not that noticeable, I guess, to me. Right. I don't know.
It's just my brain, my continuity brain is like, wait. I need to know. Is it daylight? Is it not daylight? But also, during storms in Antarctica, do they make things black out?
Maybe. I've never lived in Antarctica.
Really?
No.
I thought you were from there.
No. Oh, I did have that affair with a penguin.
What?
Nothing.
When you were married to your first wife, right?
No. Penguin.
For shame.
For shame. You interspecies. But anyway. So, yeah.
I'm getting Brimley over here.
Wilford Brimley.
He's gonna fuck you.
Ew. I don't know. Wilford Brimley seems like he'd be too rough.
Probably.
Take it. Take that diabetes.
Oh my God. Stop. Oh, stop.
But yeah, so like McCready's in, you know, he puts down a bottle of vodka for old Doc Brimley. And
oh, that was okay.
Yeah, he puts down a bottle of vodka for him and stuff. And, you know, he's saying to him, you know, they're talking about trust and stuff. And McCready goes to walk out. Well, that's when Blair is like, looks at him and says, "Watch Clark." And he's like, huh?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, "Watch Clark and watch him close."
Because he knows something.
Well, because Clark was close to those dogs. So that's... You know.
Every time you say that, it makes me think of close to the dogs. Like,
ew. No, he wasn't fucking those dogs.
I hope not. I mean, there ain't no bitches there, so...
Yeah. Clark's been looking at these dogs a little weird.
Anyway. They lock him up, throw away the key. No, I'm just kidding. And they're talking about how the radios are gone and the choppers are gone, and they might as well just wait till spring.
Right. And Chales says, you know, because they're talking about, well, because McCready says, well, one of us might not be who he says he is.
Right.
And stuff. And he says by spring, you know, it could be all of them.
Right.
So they got to figure out who's who. And even Childs says, well, if I was an imitation, like a perfect imitation, how would you know it was really me?
Right.
And this is where the doc comes up with the blood test, was what he was thinking about.
We got to do a blood serum test.
Right.
And And then he says, we gotta keep an eye on Clark. He was close to the dog. I'm like, yes, we fucking get it.
He was touching them dogs.
Oh my God. So they go in to get the stored blood that they have, and it's all gone.
Right, someone's
gotten into the blood.
Yeah, someone's cutting open the blood bags. And so I have a theory on this, because, a lot of people are like, well, if it wasn't Gary and it wasn't the doc at the time, like, then who was it that opened the fridge and locked it back? Because there's so many of those little whodunit kind of things in this movie that people talk about it.
Oh, really?
Still, they debate it. But, okay, my opinion, this thing, whatever this thing is, can shapeshift and it can, like, turn into tendrils and all sorts of things, right? Well, what's to say it didn't just go up underneath the seal on the door, right?
Ooh,
and
yeah.
like stick its little tentacles in there and stuff and just cut the blood open. Because when they go to the fridge, it's just starting to pour out.
Right.
So that thing could have just did it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so that was my thing.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Conspiracy theories. And Gary's like, I'm the only one with a key, and the only other person that goes in there is Windows?
No, Copper. But,
Sorry, Copper.
But Doc is what McCready keeps calling him, so that's what we've been calling him. But yeah, he says he's the only other one. So it's them two, and Clark is who everyone's, kind of looking at suspiciously.
Yeah. Because
Clark is, Clark, and these
right.
two guys are the only ones who had access to this blood locker, so that looks suspicious. And I believe, is this where Windows has a little mini freak out?
Someone goes to get a gun.
Yeah, that's Windows. So okay. Windows has a little well-placed freak out here and fucking runs to get a gun.
From their, like, gun cabinet thing. And he goes in and he's like, I'll kill you. It's like talking to Gary.
Right.
And Gary says he didn't do it, but they might feel better if someone else was in charge, because he's the captain or whatever.
Right. And he tries to give it to Norris, but Norris is kind of like, I'm not up for that.
Yeah, he's like, fuck that.
Yeah, and I don't think we really talked about Norris yet. He's one of the other guys. He's kind of a little forgettable a little bit. He kind of blends into the background. This actor, though, I forget his name, but he's usually playing cops, like dumpy kind of cops.
Oh, really?
Is usually what he's playing in movies and stuff. But yeah, so Norris kind of says, I'm not up for it. Fuck that. And Chales goes to take it, but Chales, like, through most of this movie so far, has been really not level-headed.
Right.
And so Kurt Russell steps in. That's
Mac.
right.
Mac says, we need someone level-headed.
Yeah.
Sorry, not level-headed, even-tempered.
Right. So Mac takes over.
So they take the messed up blood stuff outside and burn it, just in case.
Right.
And Max says, did I say Max? Mac says he knows he is human.
Yeah.
And he says, some of us are still human.
Right. This begins the paranoia part of the movie, because like I said, this movie plays real heavy on your sense of paranoia, and you're like, it's secluded, so you have that like claustrophobia kind of thing going. Plus, I haven't even touched on like John Carpenter's like camera work in this movie, because it's like these wide shots that he loves to use in most of his movies. It gives this touch, I guess. It's kind of his signature, because he uses these wide things and it gives off lens flares at times and stuff like that. Stuff that I think J.J. Abrams has to digitally input in his movies. But yeah, these wide shots and stuff like that. But it's also, somehow, it's still claustrophobic with these shots.
The room seems so small.
Right. So you got that. And then you got the seclusion. They're cut off from the outside world. It's insane. And I was kind of upset. The only part I was upset about you not liking this movie was the fact that you didn't get to feel that. Like, why do you think so far it's kind of lost on you?
There's a lot of boring. I know this sounds terrible, and it sounds so... I'm trying to think of the right words.
Well,
it seems so vapid of me to be like airheadish. Like, I don't want to think about it. I want to watch a movie.
Oh.
I don't want to think about the movie.
Because, yeah, like Hellraiser last week, and then this week, The Thing. These are more of the kind of movies that get into your head.
And I don't want to do that.
I mean, like I said, paranoia and claustrophobia play huge into this, and that's more cerebral. You know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, it's scary because there's a monster, but which, speaking of monsters, Universal Pictures that did this movie, they're known for their Universal monsters and stuff, and they had only decided to give them $200,000 for special effects. And they were like confused when, Carpenter and them asked for more. And they're like, well, $200,000 is all we ever spent on monsters. It's like, come on, Universal.
This is a different kind of movie than that. So anyway, that was a long tangent.
We're known for our long tangents.
Right. So, Mac's like, there's no more enemies if it takes us all over. Mm-hmm. And then it wins. So he wants Gary, Doc, and Clark shot up with morphine and to lock them up.
Yeah.
He wants... Who did he want to do the serum test?
He gets Fuchs.
Oh, it is Fuchs. Okay.
Yeah.
He wants Fuchs to do the serum test, and he's like, well, I can't do it without the doc.
Yeah.
So they all go to tie everybody up and start the serum test. Mm-hmm. And Mac is making recordings of what's going on. And he says there's nothing else to do but wait.
Right.
I mean, they can't fly away.
Yeah.
They can't call anybody.
It's just, ugh.
They're kind of fucked.
And nobody can trust anybody.
Right. And so then Fuchs is telling Mac that everyone should prepare their own meals and eat out of cans because they don't know who or what is contaminated.
Right. Because it seems like it's so easy to get contaminated by this thing. And if they stick to just eating their from can and stuff like that, then maybe they can reduce whoever the fuck it is, reduce the ability for them to contaminate the rest of them.
Right.
And at this point, though, somebody blows the fuse in the lab.
And Fuchs thinks that he sees someone walking.
Which this did, because you do see a shadowy figure kind of walk by real quick. This did scare the shit out of you.
For a minute, and not the shit. I mean, I was just like...
I saw you jump.
Okay. I mean, it was kind of spooky.
It got a scare out of you. I'm happy. Yeah. I'm at least happy I got that.
So, in true horror fashion, he follows the shadowy figure.
Yeah.
Because he wants to see who it is.
Well, yeah.
And he follows them outside, but doesn't see anyone. But he finds... What was that? Was that a shirt?
Yeah, it's like a shirt or something of McCrady's.
And it says R.J. McCrady or whatever.
Yeah, on the back of it. And that's when we cut to them all in the rec hall.
Fuchs isn't there.
Yeah, he says, he's probably been missing for a while.
Yes.
Max says this, and he wants people to kind of team up to go and check.
Right. And they're all fighting about who they're matched up with.
Yeah, because this is the part where it really explains that none of them are trusting each other. Everybody's freaking out.
Freaking the F out. Anyway. So, Mac tells him, and watch whoever you're with real close.
Right.
So Mac goes to check on Blair. I guess he wants to see if Fuchs is outside or if he's with Blair. And he goes, I guess there's like a window thing because he didn't open the door all the way.
No, it's like a little window on top of the door, I guess, so you can see out or in.
Yeah.
And he opens that.
And you see a noose.
Yeah, Blair has fashioned a noose. And,
and Blair says, I want to come back. Promise I'm okay.
I'm okay now. I can come back in. I got my hanging rope. I got this. I'm okay now. It's just him saying he's okay now with a fucking hanging rope next to him.
I know, it's sad.
That's just in case, I'm not okay. And then I hang myself.
Oh,
I call it my diabetes.
Oh my God, stop. And Mac's like,
test your nooses and test them off.
Stop. We do not promote suicide. We are for suicide awareness.
Oh, I thought you were about to say we're for suicide.
Oh my God.
I was like, dude, no, I was joking, but don't
No.
take this too far.
No.
Don't take the joke there.
No. But Max says, we'll see, and shuts the window.
Yeah.
Okay, fuck you.
Look, I feel like the people that are with Mac, because he brings two people along, I forget who, but I feel like they're like, was that a hanging rope? Did he have a noose?
Yeah, they're like,
Should we worry about that?
Should we address this?
Should we address the noose in the room?
No, it's fine.
No,
Mac
he'd
doesn't
be all
address
right.
it.
He's fine. He's got pork and beans.
Oh my
He'll be
God.
all right.
So this is where they find a burned pile of Fuchs, and they're talking about maybe he tried to burn the thing and burn himself instead.
Yeah. No. This is another point of argument some people have, is whether Fuchs burned himself or the thing burned him. Oh,
Dun, dun,
what do you
dun.
think happened?
I don't know. This is very hard to tell because you would think that if he was trying to burn the thing, they would have shown a clip of the thing being around.
And this is just one of the many things that John Carpenter leaves kind of ambiguous,
Yeah.
And I like that. I don't know. It just sends your imagination running wild because, they find Fuchs' charred corpse and they're all like, well, if he, why did he burn himself? And to me, I think he did burn himself because I think he did that because when he found McCrady's shirt, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like he saw that and he thought to himself, well, if it's McCrady's been around everybody.
And we're all fucked.
Yeah, it could be getting to all the people that aren't with me right now. So he decides to off himself, which seems, setting yourself on fire seems a little much, but, to each their own.
That is one of the least likely ways that people would kill themselves. But
yeah. But, I guess unless you're faced with a shape-shifting alien. Maybe.
that's true. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
It's ambiguous for a reason.
Right.
But moving on.
So, for some reason, Max sends one of the guys inside, and he says that it's Childs, right?
Do what?
Him and Childs are going to go to Mac's shack.
Oh, no. It's him and Fuchs. Or,
Fuchs is dead.
Shit, I fucked it up.
Are you dead?
Are you dead? See our Maximum Overdrive episode. But,
Yes.
No, it's, Mac is with Windows and, Nulls. And
Oh, it's Nulls.
yeah, and
That's right. I'm sorry.
Max sends Windows back inside, but he's like, we need to go up to my shack. And they're like, what? Why? And he's like, because when I left there, I turned the lights off. And then it shows the shack and the lights are on.
Oh, okay. See, I was really confused because I thought he said, he leaves the light on. And I was like, okay, so? I was like, what?
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I was like, why? Anyway.
So anyway, Knowles and Mac go up to the shack. And then it cuts to Chales, keeping lookout at the door.
They were like talking about, oh, it's been like 45 minutes. We should start closing up the doors.
Right.
But by closing up the doors, I thought they were just going to close the doors. No, they're fucking boarding those things, boards and nails.
Yeah, they're locking the place down.
Whoa. Paranoia is rampant. And as they're doing that, Knowles is running back.
Right.
And this little clip that happens right here as the guy sees, what is that guy's name?
Norris.
Okay. Norris sees Knowles running back, and he's like, everybody come in here. But right before he says that, he's like, ow, and like kind of grabs his stomach.
Yeah, he grabs his chest a little too. Because, okay, so here's the deal with Norris in this scene, because this is a little confusing. Because earlier in the movie, there's a cut scene that wasn't in the, this version. But it's a cut scene that kind of explains that Norris has a heart problem.
Oh, okay.
Now, you kind of see a scene earlier where Norris is taking off his flamethrower. And as he's taking it off, he's kind of wincing a little.
Like in pain.
Right. So, and then at this scene, he grabs his chest a little. So, something's wrong. Like his heart's giving him trouble.
Yeah, he's like, oh.
And I'll finish this when we get to the scene later because it explains that. But go ahead.
So they let Knowles in, and he's like, I had to cut Mac loose back there because I assume it's because he thinks Mac's one of those things.
Well, yeah, because he explains to them that he cut him loose because when they were in his place, Knowles had found it was the same shirt that
oh, that's right.
Fuchs had found earlier.
Right.
And that's why I said I think Fuchs burnt himself, because I think the thing, whoever it is, we'll explain that in a sec, but whoever it is, planted the shirt so Fuchs would find it and think McCready was the thing and go accuse him. Because it seems like what it's doing is turning them all against each other.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because it's planning it all out, turning them all against each other. Well, Fuchs thought to himself, well, if McCready's the thing, then all of those guys probably are. So he kills himself. This is just in my opinion. He kills himself, and so whoever it's really hard. Whoever the thing was came and got that shirt and then stashed it in McCready's place, turning on the lights.
Oh,
and making them go over there to investigate. And so Knowles finds the shirt and thinks McCready's the thing.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And I just had a clue moment, and I just pictured myself as the butler running around explaining the entire movie.
And McCready did it in
he did this in here.
In his shack with the t-shirt.
Dun, dun.
Ba, ba, ba. Mystery solved. Movie's over. Okay, good.
You wish.
Yes. So they all start to argue, and I was confused by this because I thought Mac was outside, but then he comes back in.
Okay. So I think this is the part that you were yawning, but
I'm sorry.
It's okay. But so Knowles is telling him what's up and stuff like that. And they're kind of arguing about what to do when the handle starts turning. And it's McCready. But they're not going to fucking let him in because they think, he's the thing.
Right.
But McCready goes around and busts into a window into this like storage room.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's what happened there.
Oh. So they kick down the door of this storage room, and Mac's ready to blow this motherfucker up. He's got dynamite in one hand and the flamethrower in the other hand, like on his back but holding the thing. Yeah,
because he's not letting them freeze him to death.
What?
Well, Mac's not wanting them to keep him outside away from.
Oh, I see what you mean. I was like, what?
So anyway, yeah, so he's standing there with about to explode them all if they fucking come near him.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of having an argument with each other about, what to do. And I think at this point, is it Norris that charges him?
Yeah.
So Norris charges him, and Matt kind of like kicks him. Well, not kicks him.
Kind of like pushes him.
Yeah, he pushes him back, and Norris hits the wall and falls down.
And dies.
Well, not completely.
Oh,
they said he wasn't breathing, so they assumed it. I guess they assumed it was his heart. Another reason I really think that scene that explained his heart condition probably should have stayed. But
that would have made more sense.
Yeah, because he stops breathing, so that's when they have to take him into the rec room.
As they're taking him into the rec room, Mac's like, nobody leaves my side.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, first of all, nobody wanted to leave your side. You left.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, sorry.
But, so they're all kind of having a standoff while Doc is working on Norris.
And he starts the chest compressions to do CPR.
Right.
And he decides that he needs the defibrillator.
Right.
And you're going to want to explain this.
So anyway, yeah. So he starts to defib him. What defibrillator?
Yeah.
It starts to defib him. And deflib-flam. Flibber-flam. God damn it, I can't talk.
With the defibrillator.
You're with the defibrillator, and he's doing that. He's saying clear and stuff like that and shocking him. Well, on the second shock, that's when Norris's fucking stomach opens up.
Bam!
And fucking bites the Doc's fucking arms off. Like, have you ever okay, when I first saw this movie, I'd never seen shit like this before. Because the horror movies I had grown up with, and like watched before, I started getting into the lesser known stuff that my parents didn't really go for. I had only seen like Halloween and like A Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that. And the first A Nightmare on Elm Street, the one that isn't too crazy. So I'd never seen fucking shit like this. This is insane. You don't expect that his stomach is gonna rip open and fucking bite someone's arms off.
Actually, there was foreshadowing. So I knew something was gonna happen.
Oh. Well, I mean, you didn't think his stomach was gonna pop open.
You're right.
Yeah. And grow teeth.
Hell yeah.
So anyway, it bites Doc's arms off, and fucking then it like it's weird because his like it busts open and all the tendrils start coming out again. It's hard to explain.
So okay, this is how I see it. If you ever seen like a kid's water sprinkler thing that has all these tubes sticking out, and when you turn the water on, they will spray everywhere and go.
Yeah, so the tendrils are doing that, and then another it's like a spider Norris kind of like comes out and attaches itself to the ceiling, and it's got Norris's face, and it's like it's fucking crazy. Horrifying. And again, as a little kid, I'm shitting my pants.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
And again, well, we'll explain that at the end, but a lot of people weren't ready for this kind of level of gore.
No, I don't think so.
A main feature. But anyway, so while McCready ends up flamethrowing Spider Norris, and as he's flamethrowing it, Norris's actual head like snakes off of his body.
It's like getting away.
Yeah. And it falls to the floor, and it uses its tongue to like drag itself underneath a desk while, everybody else is trying to figure out what the fuck to do. Cause, he just flamethrowed Norris.
Right.
So he lets him go in there with cause he wanted it to burn a little longer. McCready did. And so, but then he lets them go in and, put the fire out.
That's creepy. And that's really sad. You gotta flamethrower your friends.
I know.
Whatever.
Meanwhile, on the floor, Norris's head has sprouted spider legs and 2 eye stalks. And this is a super iconic like monster from this movie because the spider head thing is just so fucking weird and creepy. And like I said, we had Alien that came out before this. But you didn't have this. This is
Right.
like someone's twisted imagination because like
Yeah.
Alien was just a singular alien.
Right.
It didn't turn in and branch off into like heads of spiders and
And
fucking-
weird things. Yeah.
That's why I think the Thing is the scariest fucking alien of all the monster aliens, because what the fuck?
Really?
Well, like with the alien from Alien, what's he gonna do? Just shove a thing through your head and maybe eat you, I suppose? I don't even know what those things are really trying to do to you. They're trying to lay their eggs, but it could do that. But this thing can like make you turn into a creature with a head, stalks, and
Yeah.
spider legs. But anyway, so I had touched on this earlier in the movie, to go on another tangent. I had touched on this earlier about how Norris had the heart condition and stuff like that. Now, a problem I kind of have is the fact that like the Thing had a heart attack. And I started thinking about it, and I was wondering like maybe it copies us so well that it even copies the diseases we have.
Probably.
And so it couldn't stay in that host for so long.
Right.
It's just really weird. Like when you start like really breaking this movie down and thinking about like how this thing operates and stuff. Like, I don't know if it's just me writing my own stuff into it, but like it's pretty interesting. Like when you go on a tangent.
It makes sense. It really does. Mm.
Hey everybody, it's that time again. It's shout out time. Shout out, shout out, shout out, shout out. Today's shout outs are Nacindia Dreamchild. Now Nacindia contacted me on Twitter and sent me one of her videos she made on YouTube, and you can look that up under Nacindia Dreamchild or The Unknown Creature as the title of the video is. It's a really creepy short little video. Honestly, it's hard to explain, but it's pretty creepy. Go check that out. Up next, we got the guys over at westcoastgeek.com. They got gear, artwork, cool crap, and graphic novels, all sorts of stuff to feed your inner geek. Go check them out at westcoastgeek.com. That's westcoastgeek.com. We got the ever-talented Laura Bierman 72. That's Laura Bierman 72 on Twitter. Laura has always been super supportive of the show, and she continues to be. And you can see her writing on Joe Bob's website, which, joebob.net. Go check that out. She is an amazing writer. She also writes for Diabolique and 25 Years Later. So go check her out. And in other shout-out news, we have Killer Card Designs from Seaham, England. Now, these guys are really freaking cool. You can find their shop at etsy.com/uk/shop/killercarddesigns. That's etsy.com/uk/shop/killercarddesigns. And they got a really cool-ass shop on there. You ought to go give them some support. Shout-outs are free. Always. So if you got a cool website you're working on, or a product, or just some cool-ass artwork, contact us, and we'll send it in. You can contact us on Twitter, is the best way to, at NHHorrorfile, or you can contact me on Twitter. That's Lee Evans on Twitter at Levins6081. So send in those shout-outs. We'll see what we can do. Love you all. Back to the show.
Anyway, Mac wants everyone tied down.
Yeah. Oh, we left off the best part, though.
What?
So Norris's spider head crawls away from him. And
Oh.
then, like, Palmer looks over. Or, I'm sorry, not Palmer. Windows looks over, sees, like, Norris's spider head. Because this is kind of important for later, and I'll explain why. But Windows sees the Norris spider head, and then Palmer looks and sees it, and sees that, Windows is looking what he's looking at, and he's like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me."
Oh, yeah.
And Mac ends up flamethrowing it. Now that line that the actor Palmer said and stuff like that, it still cracks Kurt Russell up. He still laughs his ass off about that line.
I mean, it's pretty funny.
Yeah. So
So now Mac wants everyone tied up.
right.
Or tied down.
Yeah,
Whatever.
he's done fucking around
Yes.
because the dude's head's turned into a spider. I mean, Jesus Christ.
So Clark's a little suspicious about this. He didn't like it so much.
Right.
Childs refuses, and he says he would rather die than be tied up. Oh, because Mac pulls a gun on him.
Yeah.
And he says, go ahead and shoot me, because I'd rather die than be tied up. And as this little part is going on with Childs, Clark comes near Mac. So he's standing kind of close to him.
Yeah, because he's got that scalpel. I don't know if we said that earlier in the movie, where like,
oh, that's right.
That scene where, you know, McCready had just came in and he's holding them like at bay with the dynamite. Clark had grabbed the scalpel off the table.
Oh,
and so
okay.
This is where he charges at McCready with the scalpel, and McCready fucking blows him away.
Oh, gunshot right to the head.
Fucking around, he just shoots him in the damn head.
Mac says, when a man bleeds, it's just tissue. But when it's one of the things, it tries to crawl away and survive.
Yeah, because like, okay, so this is the infamous blood test scene, which it's super famous from this movie.
It's pretty cool.
Pretty much everything's famous from this movie. But so he's got everybody tied up, right? And this blood test scene actually was lifted directly from the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I had said earlier, you know, in my preamble about the 1951 movie and stuff. Well, and the producers wanted a more faithful adaptation of the book. Well, in the 1951 Howard Hawks flick, like, the monster didn't do this. He didn't take over people, and there wasn't, that mystery was kind of cut out of it. The mystery part, yeah, because in the book this happens. Like, it's taking over people's bodies and stuff. And they don't know who's who, and so it kind of took away that little mystery. Well, in this one they put it back. So this blood test is taken directly from the book, and this is like a super faithful adaptation of that book. So I know some people have said, you know, this is the greatest remake ever. I don't see it as a remake. I know it's the same way I don't see this new It movie as a remake.
Because it's completely different. Well, not completely.
Well, it's more faithful to the source material.
Right.
That's not a remake. It's just another adaptation.
Right.
And maybe I'm making excuses because this is one of my favorite movies, but that's how I see it. So yeah. Sorry about another tangent. Yesterday lessons with Lee.
Oh my god.
But more like film class. But so yeah. So here's the blood test scene, and I'll let you take over.
So Mac is heating up this coil. What is it?
It's like a piece of wire.
A piece of wire. Yeah. With a flamethrower thing. I don't know. He's warming it up to stick it in the blood. And everyone's getting their hands cut to get blood into these petri dishes to do the test. And that was kind of violent. Oh, yeah,
it does show. Which, again, it looks good. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, there's obviously parts where it's fake, but like, yeah, they're cutting their thumbs and they're bleeding into these petri dishes to collect the blood, you know?
So he starts with Windows.
Right.
He looks at him, sticks it in. Windows is good. Then Max says to do what we all know, and he picks up his own, and his is good.
Right.
He picks up Dr. Cooper's. It's good. And then they're all like, yeah, we told you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And he picks up Clark's too, and that's when Childs, you know, and it turns out he was human. And that's when Childs is like, that makes you a murderer, doesn't it?
Right, because he killed
like,
Clark.
Oh, shit.
So he picks up Palmer's, puts the thing in there, and all of a sudden, looks like alien thing shoots up.
Yeah, and that's such an awesome little jump scare.
Yes, it was. I did not expect that.
Yeah, you're not expecting that, and that's great. That's more great fucking effects that would look like, it would look silly as shit if they remade this movie with that and it was like a CGI. Could you imagine how cartoony that would look?
Yes, very much so.
And that's, I get a lot of shit for thinking that way about CGI as opposed to, like these effects, like CGI as opposed. Oh God, I can't talk. I get a lot of shit for choosing practical effects over CGI because, but when you have a movie that's a horror movie, horror especially, I think you need these practical effects. I think CGI needs to be the last, resort. Like, if you can't absolutely create this in reality, then there's CGI to help you out. But I don't think it should be all CGI because it really loses it. And maybe it's just me, but I can tell.
Right.
All of it looks like a cartoon, and it's just annoying. And it makes me feel even stronger about it when we watch movies like this because I see it can be done. It was done in the fucking 80s. Why can't it be done now?
Right. It definitely can.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Palmer starts to shake and turn into an alien thing. And meanwhile, all these guys are roped together. So they're sitting in these chairs, they're tied to the chairs, but they're also tied to each other.
Yeah, which is God, could you imagine being there? That would suck so bad.
Oh, I know.
Because the whole time Palmer's like
shaking and like trying to get out of the ties and stuff. And Mac's flamethrower stops working.
Yeah, something's wrong with it. It's clogged or something. I don't know.
So he's
get clogged.
He's trying to get that to work. The guys that are tied up next to him are trying to like get out of there.
Yeah.
So they start freaking out.
And the thing like rips out of the ropes.
And then takes Palmer and like throws him against the ceiling. And well, I guess it doesn't throw him, but it is Palmer.
I was really confused. I was like, I thought Palmer is the thing.
No, he is the thing. I'm sorry.
Well, it kind of like slaps itself against the ceiling. That's
right.
But so McCrady's like, hey, fucking blast it, like to Windows.
Yeah.
And Windows goes to do it, but he I guess he freezes up because the thing drops in front of him and his fucking head splits open. And now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm listening to us explain this sounds insane.
It does.
Like if nobody had seen this movie, which I'm pretty sure our listeners love this movie. That's why, we're not going too depth into what the thing looks like.
Right.
But just listening to us explain it, and then its fucking head rips open and bites the dude and slings him around. It's just seeing it. It's beautiful, these practical effects, man. But anyway, so yeah, it bites down on Windows' head and like tosses him it's tossing him all over the place while McCrady's trying to get the shit, going.
He finally gets it and sets it on fire. And this Palmer alien is on fire and it just walks through the wall. It walks outside.
Yeah.
On fire.
Into the snow.
Which, they must have done that in real life, like had someone in a fire suit because that looked for real. Yeah,
it honestly, and, for 82, did I say 80? 82, right? 82, like, that's a pretty good fire suit because usually those things were, like, bulky as shit,
Right.
Like, you could tell when somebody was in a fire suit. And maybe that's why they chose to make his head, like, split open, make his head bigger. So,
to make him look bigger.
Yeah, maybe make the fire suit a little less noticeable. But right. He runs out into the snow, and that's McCrady, and you like this effect where he tosses that TNT on him and it blows him up.
Hell yeah, I love seeing things get blown up. And Windows is like in the corner, covered in blood. Max sets him on fire because he's now exposed.
Yeah, and he's like over there moving and getting back up, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, he did. So he goes back to his blood serum test, and he goes to Knowles, and Knowles is good. And as these people are becoming noticeably that they're not aliens,
Yeah.
he starts to set them free.
Yeah. So then by the end of it, he's got Childs and he's got Knowles.
And
McCready does.
They're good. And Gary's the last one.
Yeah.
And he's good, but he's mad because he wants out of the fucking ropes.
Right.
He's like, you gonna let me out or not?
Yeah, he's like, I know you gentlemen have had a really rough night, but I'd like to not spend the rest of the winter tied to this fucking chair.
He wanted out right then.
And so, they untie him.
So they go out to, I assume, get Blair's blood.
Yeah, they're going to go test him because, if they test him and he's clear, then they've got it under, contained.
Right. Under wraps. So they go and the door's open. Dun, dun, dun.
Check his hanging rope.
He's not there. He ain't there.
Right there.
So they're like kind of walking around the room looking to see if he's like,
and it's only,
I don't know, dead somewhere.
Right. And it's only Mac, Knowles, and Gary because they left Childs back, to guard the main building. So that way, if Blair comes back, he can burn him.
Right. He said if Blair comes back, just burn him.
Yeah, if Blair comes back and we're not with him, burn him.
Right. So as Mac's walking on the floor, it's kind of unlevel, and this triggers them to dismantle the floor.
Right.
Which is weird. And there's a tunnel. And I assume Blair built the tunnel? Like, how long has he been in there?
Well, that's one thing, like, how long has Blair been the thing? Because obviously he is, if he's tunneling down, down into, like, the ground, and he builds this, like, it's like a spaceship, or, like, something weird. I don't know.
Yeah, they follow it down. They follow the tunnel down,
right.
And they find this like spaceship thing, and they're saying that he used helicopter parts.
Yeah, to build this thing because there's like a welder down there and all sorts of stuff.
So they're kind of trying to figure out what to do, and Mac puts together this big bomb with dynamite.
Right.
I wanted to call it a bomb, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, because McCready says, listen, we're all not going to get out of here alive. That thing, because they saw the kind of spaceship thing and stuff like that, he's probably going to want to take them over and then wait for the rescue team. Because when the rescue team gets there, he can hitch on them and then they'll take him back to civilization. So McCready's like, listen, we're not getting out of here alive, but neither is that thing. We're going to take it out. Basically, to save the world is what we're looking at.
But then they see Childs walking outside.
Right.
And he comes in and he says that they blew up the generator. And Max says it's going to be negative 100 degrees in less than 6 hours.
Right.
And Mac has decided it wants to go to sleep. And it wants to freeze. So Mac throws the bomb down in the tunnel, and they all bolt as fast as they can.
Yeah.
Which, when I first saw this, I was like, how are they going to get out of there?
Right.
And then the second time I watched it, well, actually the third time, because I fell asleep the second time, I was like, I guess they could have run fast enough. I don't know. I still think they would have died, but whatever.
But I think they jumped out.
Whatever. I still think they would have died. So they all get in the dozer, but you don't see them get in the dozer. You just see the dozer go through the building. They go in and they start blowing up all the rooms in the bunker.
Yeah. But because like they're just going to take it all down and destroy it all.
So they get rid of all the aliens.
Yeah.
Or
and,
whatever.
And, you know, just kind of get rid of all the places they can hide.
Right. And then they're going to go down to the generator room. So they go down there and they're looking around. And who was that said that the generator was gone? Who's down there?
Well, okay. Remember, Mac has Knowles and Gary.
Oh, okay. So it's Gary.
Right.
And he says, Gary's like, the generator's gone. And Mac's like, can we fix it? And he's like, no, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's not there anymore. So Mac's like, okay, we're going to have to take the whole place down. And so they start to rig up their stuff. And this is where we see Blair.
Yeah. So Gary's kind of doing something and rigging some stuff up. And Blair comes up behind him. And this is where he like shoves his fingers into his face.
Yeah, like
which is
in his mouth and starts like stretching his face.
I mean, that's one way to test your blood for diabetes.
Oh my God, stop. Stop it.
It's a Wilford Brimley episode. Come on.
But he's not even the main guy.
I can still
what
make
about
a joke.
Kurt Russell?
Yeah, well, Kurt Russell's too cool to make fun of.
Oh.
I can't make a joke about Kurt Russell. He's too cool.
That's true. So Blair's shoving his hand in Gary's face. And
oh, and you know why we're on Blair? Oh, we're joking about Blair. Originally, John Carpenter wanted Donald Pleasance to be Blair, which would have been pretty cool. Like, because Donald Pleasance is a freaking character. Like, he played Loomis in the original Halloween. He's in Escape from New York as the president. He's just a really good actor. So that would have been neat. But I feel like, and I think it's been said that they chose Wilford Brimley, who was kind of unknown at the time. They chose Wilford Brimley because he'd be easy to disappear during the movie.
Oh.
Like where he could disappear during it because he's such an everyday kind of guy.
Right.
So you won't notice him missing through most of the action. And you don't. Like, you don't notice it until they bring him up.
Right.
Like, so it was kind of smart on them, because if it was Donald Pleasance, you're going to be wondering where Donald Pleasance is. And when we get to some movies with him in it, you'll understand why I say that. You're going to want to know where he is if they disappear him.
Just disappear him?
Yeah, disappear him.
Hide him?
Hide him. Hide him from the script.
I understand.
But anyway.
So, as Gary's getting his face stretched off, Mac's like, how's it coming in there? And nothing's said.
Yeah.
So Mac walks in and the floor starts to like
because
wave.
I'm sorry. Because we see earlier, Knowles is loading some stuff up and he ends up hearing something and he walks off.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and that's when Mac says that. But so the floor starts raising up.
Yes, like a wave in a wave pool. And then this huge alien thing comes out.
Right. And did you notice that we don't see Knowles die?
Yes.
And we technically don't see Gary die either. I mean, he's dead. But
is he dead?
But so there was supposed, in the original draft and stuff, there was supposed to be a scene where when this monster comes up, which people have nicknamed, the Blair monster, when it comes up out of the ground and stuff to come after McCready, there was supposed to be some special effects and stuff where you see, I don't know about Gary, but you're supposed to see Knowles like halfway assimilated, and he's like hanging out and asking for help from McCready and stuff like that. So this monster was supposed to be like 10 times more hideous, but they ran out of money. Rob Bottin didn't have the time or the fucking money to finish that, so they went with this, what we see, and it's kind of left up in the air what happened to Knowles.
Oh, I didn't need to see it. I wasn't scared. So, this thing, like, is huge, And I don't even know how to explain it.
It's like a combo of everything because you see the dog come out of it too. It's just
Yeah.
ugh.
I don't understand.
Again, it really is. I didn't think about it till now, but it is hard to explain these monsters that are in this movie because they are something like if this is your first time seeing it, like these are straight out of somebody's twisted imagination and shit.
Yes, definitely.
This movie took things to a whole new ball game as far as special effects. Things. The puns.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, and there is a part, and I forgot to point it out. There's a part earlier where Max says, "The thing."
Oh yeah. Well, he's saying the thing throughout the entire thing. Sorry, I had to throw it out.
But I was like, he said it. He said it.
He said it. There's another he said it.
Yep.
But yeah, so Mac ends up killing the thing.
Yeah, he grabs the dynamite bomb,
Mm-hmm.
and he does this little tuck and roll, and he says, "Well, fuck you too."
Yeah, because
And throws it at the alien, and
Right.
everything blows up. Mac is still alive and still drinking his JB.
yeah, he's got his
over-
bottle of JB.
And he goes over to sit down, and Childs is there. He's alive too.
Right.
And Mac was like, "Where were you?" And Childs is like, "I thought I saw blood."
Yeah, and he said, I followed Blair off into the snow, but he lost me, and I got lost. So he comes over and he sits across from McCready, Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
And Childs is like, if you're worried about me, and McCready's like, listen, if we got surprises for each other, we're in no shape to do anything about it.
Yeah,
And
he's tired.
Yeah, and he hands the liquor bottle over to Childs, who takes a big ol' swig.
Because how else are you going to stay warm?
Right. And he says, then what are we going to do? And McCready looks at him and says, why don't we just sit here, wait a minute, see what happens. And I just love that as a final line. That's so cool.
Yeah.
But it's kind of chilling. What a line that is. But so yes, and again, this is ambiguous because this is how the movie ends.
Right.
Them freezing to death, not knowing who's who or who to trust. And it's really good. And a lot of people like to say who it is. John Carpenter goes back and forth. I don't think he'll ever specifically tell us what it is, if one of them is or one of them isn't the thing. But it's kind of neat to think about the different kind of ideas people have. Like one idea is McCready's the monster, making himself seem like the hero.
Right.
And if McCready was the monster, technically he did good because he killed everybody.
Right.
So maybe McCready's the monster. Well, another one is Childs is the monster because, and here's a few ideas about that, is because you see Child's breath a little bit, but not as much as McCready's. But that can be explained away by, it was only 40 degrees on these sound stages. And, Kurt Russell was taking drags off cigarettes just to make it look like he was breathing. So I don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
That's a good idea.
I don't buy into that where you can't see his breath very much. But I do buy into this theory where McCready hands Childs the liquor and Childs takes a big swig, right? Well, earlier on, while they're blowing up the facility, and even in that thing where he throws the dynamite at the Blair monster, he has Molotovs set up, and they're all in like green J&B looking bottles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so what if he handed Blair a thing of gasoline? Because the monster wouldn't know gasoline from liquor. Because also, McCready kind of laughs a little as soon as he takes that drink. So I buy into that theory a little bit. That's kind of cool. But there's no answer here. It's just kind of left up to your imagination.
That would make sense because then at the very end, they just show everything on fire.
Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't that creepy? But it's creepy because you don't know specifically. You're like,
right. Is
it both? Could they both be? Yeah, they could both be it. Or is it him? Is it him? It's over. It's just,
Yep.
and yeah, so then it just goes to John Carpenter's The Thing, and that's it. So yeah, but I love how it ends. I don't know, I just love this movie. But not a lot of other people like this movie. John Carpenter does take a lot of his failures kind of hard and stuff like that, especially this one, because he considered this his best film. It's his favorite. Maybe not, I don't think he considers it his best film, but he considers this like one of his most favorite films, that he's made.
Right.
And it's considered the first of his Apocalypse trilogy, which gets rounded out with Prince of Darkness in '87, and then in 1994, In the Mouth of Madness, which is that's a good movie. All John Carpenter's movies are great, but no. So when this came out, it fucking flopped. Like it barely made any money. It opened. And the problem, a lot of people are like, well, people weren't ready for the gore and stuff. And yeah, that could be it. But I really think it's just when this movie opened, sure, it opened a few years, 3 or 4 after Alien, but at the same time, it opened 2 weeks after E.T. And, there's a few other Alien movies around this time that were real watery, like fun. Kids movies. I mean, Spielberg's E.T. movie is a movie the whole family can watch and have a good time with. You had that Alien, and then a couple of weeks later, you had this. Like, could you imagine, like, thinking you're going into this, like, not knowing what's up, because at the time, you didn't see trailers unless you saw them at the movie theater. Like, so you're going into this, and it's a little disappointing. So I think that's really what hurt this movie. It's just crazy to think that this was a flop, I guess.
Not really.
No? But anyway, I mean, but it slowly gained some traction, and now it's considered like one of the best sci-fi movies ever made, sci-fi horror ever made. And there's even an interview, because it didn't do very well here in the States, but it said that it did a little better internationally, because like there's even an old interview somewhere, I'll have to find it, with Guillermo del Toro, and he's talking about how they were packed into this Mexican theater watching this, and they fucking loved it, because he's like, there's gore and guts, and it was just fun. And so this movie had a big influence on him, and it's had an influence on a lot of other sci-fi things coming after it. But yeah, it was a fucking flop, and kind of sucks.
I'm not surprised.
What was it? Like, why didn't you like this movie?
It's boring.
Boring? Man, that's insane.
I could have done, like, the part where Norris bites off the doctor's hands. Okay, the part with the dog.
Uh-huh.
And then the part where the doctor's hands are gone or whatever. I could have done all of that and more, but everything else could go.
So you just didn't like the setup scenes at the beginning?
It was too long.
Is it just like the fact that like this is kind of, I don't want to call it a slow burn horror movie. It's more like a mystery film within a horror film. You know what I mean? Like you don't know who's who.
Right.
Like I said, you got that sense of paranoia and fucking claustrophobia on top of you.
Yeah.
So
I can see why people like this movie, okay? It is just not my type of movie.
I get it. I mean, not every movie you're going to fucking enjoy, like 100%. Right. Like, this is one of, like, Hellraiser. This is on my top list, like, of movies you need to watch, but not necessarily movies you need to love. It's not... I get it. The Thing isn't for everything. The Thing isn't Halloween, you know?
Right.
Halloween, I think everybody enjoys. I mean...
If you like movies like that.
I guess you could hate Halloween, but again, you're wrong.
I'm not saying I hate Halloween. I'm not saying that.
Right. But I get it, you know. I kind of understand why you wouldn't like this movie. Huh?
I said some people don't like slasher movies.
Well, that's true, yeah. Some people might be
and
turned
some
off
people
by
don't
that.
like psychological sci-fi movies. And that happens to be me.
Oh, man. I do feel bad because this is your first sci-fi horror movie that we've ventured
We
into.
had to watch it 3 times.
I thought you were going to die throughout this. It's insane because you're the first person I've really met who doesn't like this movie, or at least has told me they don't like this movie. I'm sure I've met a lot of people who are like, yeah, the Thing was awesome. And then they're just praying I don't start coming up with things. But I've always been like this, where nobody wants to talk to me about horror movies because then I go off on who did what, who pissed in this area of the set, and who made this and who hammered this nail. So anyway, that is 1982's The Thing. And man, go see this. Like, I recommend it. Brittany apparently doesn't.
Don't watch it when you're sleepy.
But anyway, so next week, oh man, we're getting into a heavy hitter.
I'm excited.
I know. Well, sort of a heavy hitter. Not quite yet. The heavy hitter's mom.
The heavy hitter's
next
mom.
week is next week is Friday the 13th, and we will be watching 1980s Friday the 13th. That's right, the first Friday the 13th.
I know.
The thing that started it all. The thing that led into numerous sequels, including a Versus movie, which we need more monster versus movies, because that's all that was. It was just a monster versus monster movie like Universal used to do with Dracula versus Frankenstein and stuff like that. We need more of that. So,
and we might go get our Friday the 13th tattoos.
oh, that's right. They're offering free Friday the 13th
No.
tattoos.
They're not free.
They're not free?
They're discounted.
Oh, fuck.
They're
All right,
not
whatever.
free.
Well, until next week, I'm Lee saying stay spooky.
And I'm Brittany. Stay horrific.
Breathers.
Bye.
Bye. Whew, that is another good show. A little long, but a good show. So if you enjoy what you hear here, be sure to leave a 5-star review on whatever you listen to podcasts on. And tell your friends. That's the best thing to do. Tell your friends about us and visit us on Twitter at NHHorrorFile and over on our Facebook page. And you can also find us on Instagram at Night of the Horror File. And we are now on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. So if you don't like listening to podcasts on Apple Podcasts or just whatever, you can now hear us on YouTube. Go subscribe, listen, and again, we love you all. Bye-bye.